All right, our lesson today is going to be adding integers. Now remember, integers, anytime you hear that in math, it's going to be talking about negative numbers. So today we're going to be adding negative numbers. Let's take a look at the first slide. Now the first slide here gives us the rules. Okay. Now we have two rules here. We have a rule here if the signs are the same, and we have a rule down here if the signs are the different. And whenever I say the signs, I'm talking about the numbers themselves. In this first example right here, we have a -2 and a -4. Okay, those signs are the same. We have two negative numbers. We're going to be adding two negative numbers together. Okay, and our rule says if the signs are the same, we're going to add the two numbers together and keep the same sign. So, since my signs are the same, I'm going to add these numbers up. 4 plus 2, obviously that is 6. Then I have to keep the same sign. So since these are both negative, my answer is going to be -6. Simple enough. Okay, now let's take a look and see what we do whenever we have signs that are different. Okay, if the signs are different, it says right here that we are going to subtract the two numbers and keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. Now, if you remember from our lesson yesterday, absolute value is a number's distance from 0. So we're really looking at which one of these numbers is bigger if they were both positive. All right. Now, since both these numbers have different signs, if you notice, we have a +3 right here and we have a -6 right here. Okay, so we follow the rule. It says we have to subtract those two numbers. So I'm going to simply subtract 6 minus 3. Well, I know that 6 minus 3 is 3. But now I need to figure out what my sign is going to be. I need to figure out if my answer is going to be negative or positive. So I come back here and look at these numbers. Which number is bigger, 6 or 3? Well, remember, we're looking at the absolute value. So we're looking at would be +3, and the absolute value of -6 would be +6. So which one has a greater absolute value? Well, obviously, the -6 has a greater absolute value, and since it is negative, that means that my answer also has to be negative. So my answer is going to be -3. Now, pay close attention to that, ladies and gentlemen, because the negative sign and positive signs in this lesson, those are the most important things. That's what we're learning about here. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple more examples. All right, letter A up here says -43 minus 5. Well, the first thing I need to do is identify whether the signs are the same or are they different. Well, I see this is a -43 right here. This is a +5 right here, so that means my signs are different. Well, I can go back that if the signs are different, it says I have to subtract the two numbers and keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. Okay, so my signs are different. So I'm going to have 43 minus 5. Well, I know that whenever I subtract those out, that's going to leave me with, what does that leave me with? 38. Now I need to determine whether that's going to be a negative or a positive. Well, I'll go back over here and look. 43 is one number and 5 is one number. Well, 43 is larger absolute value, and since my 43 was already negative, that means my answer also has to be negative. So I'm going to have a -38 as my answer. All right, let's take a look at letter B. Letter B, again, the first thing I need to do on these, anytime I'm working with integers, I need to identify whether these signs are the same or if they're different. Well, I notice this is a -12 and this is a -25. So my signs are the same. Okay, so if I go back, and since you should have these written in your notes now, I know the signs are the same, so I'm going to have to add those two numbers together and keep the same sign. Okay, so I'm going to have to add these guys up, so I'm going to have 25 plus 12, which is going to give me 37. And since these signs are both negative, that means I have to keep the same sign, so that's going to be negative 37 as my answer. It's not that hard as long as you remember your rules. The rules are the most important thing. If you get confused, just look back, take a second, follow the rules. You'll get it right every time. Good luck.